You've got 2 seconds. That's it. That's the whole game. A patterned interrupt. A text hook that makes your brain go, wait, what? A loop that pulls you right back to frame one. We're not here to guess why things blow up. We're here to engineer it. Welcome to Hook, Loop, and Drop. All right, Hook Anatomy Lab is open, and let's start with the number that actually governs your career as a creator. 70%. That's the completion rate threshold TikTok needs before it widens distribution in 2026, up from 50% back in 2024. And you literally cannot hit it if you're losing people in the first 2 seconds. Here's the mechanism. Attention span research puts the average mobile viewing decision at just 1.7 seconds. And TikTok for Business data shows 63% of the highest click-through videos hook within the first 3 seconds. Your hook isn't a creative flourish. It's the on-off switch for the entire algorithm. Okay, so here's where I get specific, because hook in the first 2 seconds is advice everyone repeats and almost nobody operationalizes. Data from Opus Clips Q1 2026 analysis of over 34,000 clips found only 4 hook patterns consistently scored above 70 out of 100. Identity call, contrarian strike, open loop, and confession. Everything else, including the classic "let me tell you about the time" story opener, underperformed because it requires trust the viewer hasn't given you yet. And here's the structural reason those 4 win. They all do the same thing in the brain. They open a gap the viewer physically needs to close, which neuroscience ties to the same dopamine pathway as anticipating a reward. The actionable build right now. If your hook isn't targeting a specific identity or making a claim that demands proof in the next 10 seconds, you're not hooking. Here's the thing nobody puts in the headline. It's not just what you say in the first 2 seconds. It's the double layer. Opus Clips dataset of 34,000 plus clips found that the top hook type, product or outcome showcase, averages over 6,000 views per clip, roughly double the lowest ranked type, and that gap holds across every niche. But Vidouli's analysis goes further. TikToks that paired a verbal hook with a visual pattern interrupt saw 47% higher 3-second retention than those relying on words alone. So your real build isn't write a better hook sentence. It's align your first spoken word with your first frame, because the algorithm is reading both simultaneously. Okay, we need to talk about the ending, because that's where most creators silently die. Here's the architecture truth. According to Darkroom Agency's 2026 analysis, rewatch and loop rate now outranks follower count as a priority signal. And the mechanic behind that is devastatingly simple. When your video's ending flows seamlessly back into its beginning, the viewer replays it without making a conscious decision to. And that involuntary replay generates the exact rewatch and completion data TikTok weights most heavily in its FYP scoring model. The old playbook said hook hard, front load value, trail off. But that's precisely backwards when the algorithm is evaluating retention across 70% of your runtime, not just the opening seconds. Here's the build most creators never do, because they're so focused on the opening, and it's killing their numbers. The mechanic is this. According to SMN Nuts' 2026 loop content analysis, a seamless loop exploits TikTok's default autoplay behavior to generate what they call involuntary rewatch events. The viewer replays it without making a conscious decision to, and each of those replays registers as an additional completion event in TikTok's scoring models simultaneously. Likes.io's breakdown of the 2026 algorithm puts rewatch and loop count as the second-ranked signal overall, and they call it flat out. Looping content is the cheat code that nothing else replicates. The practical build is stupidly precise. As Real Talk documents it, your closing spoken line has to flow straight into your first line, and your final frame has to match the framing, lighting, and position of your opening shot. Because the Okay, here's the final build for the loop block, and this is the one thing I want you to walk away with before we move on. Shortsly's June 2026 guide puts it this way: a completed watch, followed by an automatic loop, is the single strongest positive signal TikTok's algorithm can receive. Because it doesn't just complete your video, it inflates average watch time per view, the normalized metric TikTok uses to compare videos of totally different lengths. SocialLink, updated this month, pegs a rewatch rate over 15 to 20% as a strong algorithmic signal, which means your one engineering target is getting 1 in 6 viewers to replay involuntarily. The audio-visual double match is how you get there. Your closing line feeds into your opening line acoustically. Your final frame matches the framing and lighting of your first, and the seam disappears. All right, welcome to Trend or Trap, and I need you to hear me on this one before you open CapCut. The biggest audio on TikTok's FYP right now is Ian McConnell's Bangladesh, a 49-second absurdist earworm that's crossed TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube simultaneously, hitting close to 1 million streams on Spotify and pulling commentary from SZA, Chance the Rapper, and Lizzo in the comments. Here's why I'm calling this a trend and not a trap. The audio has hit what the Daily Star calls the second stage of virality. People aren't just sharing the original, they're making their own substitution versions, which means share velocity is still moving, not decaying. But the window is compressing fast. New Engin's July tracker says the Ariana Grande and Spider-Man soundscapes are queuing up for July 31st. So if you're not posting this week, you're posting into saturation. Okay, 2 audios I need you to actually stress test before you touch CapCut. First one, Buffer's July list flags That's Triggering Me Original by Dusty. Creators lip sync, while a text overlay memes the very specific thing setting them off. And the substitution mechanic is identical to what Bangladesh is doing, which means share velocity is still moving because every new niche has a version to post. But here's the trap signal. Socialpilot's data shows the hashtag Fujitsu trend is already past 36 million posts and was TikTok's #1 trend for June. That's not a trend, that's a graveyard. The algorithmic read on saturation is simple. When the video count on a sound is measured in the tens of millions, the FYP has already served that audio to most of its likely audience. So your completion rate gets dragged down by viewer fatigue before your hook even has a chance. Here's your one actual move this week, and I want you to write this down. SMM Nuts July 2026 audio map identifies sounds like Dracula Jenny Remix and SS26 as still in their growth phase for fashion and lifestyle niches, which means substitution versions are possible and share velocity hasn't compressed. But the real signal I want you to act on is this. According to Stack Influence's 2026 Creator Audio Guide, the algorithm groups videos using the same sound into audio communities. So the question you ask before touching any audio isn't, is this trending? It's, does the top content on this sound match my niche? If it doesn't, you are borrowing distribution from the wrong audience, tanking your follow-through rate, and actually signaling poor content relevance back to TikTok. All right, format face-off, and I'm not letting you pick a winner until we look at the actual numbers. POV storytelling versus plot twist. Both are everywhere right now, but they are doing completely different algorithmic jobs. Marketing LTB's 2026 stats show POV-style videos outperform standard videos by 17%, and strong storytelling lifts retention by 38%. Solid, consistent, repeatable. But here's the counterpunch. That same dataset shows videos ending with a twist get 59% more rewatches, and suspense-based hit 49% higher completion. And if SocialLink's 70% plus completion threshold is your viral trigger, that rewatch multiplier on the twist format is doing serious structural work. Okay, here's your scorecard, and I'm going to give you a winner, but you're not going to like the asterisk on it. POV storytelling. Marketing LTB's data shows strong storytelling lifts retention 38%, and relatable content boosts shares by another 38% on top of that. So it's doing double algorithmic duty. Retention and share trigger simultaneously, which is rare. Plot twist format counters with 59% more rewatches, and what Social Link confirms is a rewatch rate above 15 to 20%, acting as a massive distribution signal. One viewer watching 3 times literally beats 3 viewers watching once in TikTok's math. But here's the part nobody talks about. The effort to reward gap is brutal on the twist format. Vortex's 2026 editing breakdown shows twist videos need chapter cards every 5 to 8 seconds. Dynamically timed caption. Okay, here's the move nobody's actually building yet. The hybrid. You use the POV setup as your hook architecture, because Talk Portal's 2026 format breakdown confirms that POV identity lines prompt viewers to respond fast, which spikes early engagement velocity and signals distribution. That's your opening 3 seconds working double time. Then you compress the middle with Vortex's rapid-fire story stack method. Chapter cards every 5 to 8 seconds, escalating music, hard cuts, borrowing series retention inside a single video. And the payoff? That's where the twist lives. Kiapi's 2026 Viral Structure Guide calls this the hold to payoff architecture. You deliver tension through the middle, then the final 3 seconds resolve it with something the viewer did not see coming, which triggers the rewatch. POV earns the share, the twist earns the replay. You are running both algorithmic. Okay, anti-trend of the week? And this one I actually love because it's the most honest thing I can teach you. The format inversion that's working right now isn't some mystery. It's the result first, process second flip. T. Linky's 2026 format breakdown spells it out exactly. Show the amazing result in the first 3 seconds, then cut back to the messy beginning and walk the process. That's a full reversal of the tutorial format everyone is still doing backwards. And the algorithmic reason it works is brutal in its simplicity. You've already delivered the dopamine hit, so the viewer stays for the explanation rather than bailing before the payoff. And here's the inversion template you can steal right now. Whatever your niche, lead with the finished state, cut hard to here's where I started, and let the process be the loop architecture. Okay, this is beat 2 of anti-trend, the actionable half, the part where you actually walk out of here with something. The result first flip we broke down last beat isn't just a format trick. The reason it's hitting algorithmically is that it front-loads the dopamine, which means T. Linky's data confirms you've already delivered value before the viewer can bail. And Darkroom's 2026 algorithm breakdown tells us that when the ending of that process reveal connects back to your opening result frame, you engineer an involuntary loop. The viewer hits the end, and the beginning feels like a natural continuation. Here's the exact replicable template. Open on your finished state. Hard cut to here's where I started. Let the process be your middle, and design frame 1 and your final frame to be visually rhyming. Same angle, same subject, before and after. Because GoViral.app confirms that when the last frame can... Okay, one move, that's all you're walking out of here with. And I mean that as a feature, not a limitation. Opus Clips analysis of 34,635 TikTok clips found that the algorithm makes its first distribution decision in roughly 1.5 seconds. And if your hook fails there, the video enters a cold start it almost never escapes. So your one repeatable move is this. Write your hook before you write anything else, every single time, no exceptions. The template is 4 words that force a decision. Most niche people don't know, because it triggers a pattern interrupt in frame 1, fires the identity layer that makes POV storytelling convert, and sets up a payoff the viewer has to stay for. Hook first. Always hook first. That's the system.